You remember that popular kid from high school? The boy that used to get all the good grades, the guy that was the captain of the football team, all the girls used to like him? Well, that used to be Manchester United. 11 years ago was when they could call themselves last champions of England. After that, they had to look at the team from the other side of the Manchester divide, go and conquer everything. And now Manchester City appear to be that person. 10 years ago was the last time Manchester United also lost a game that they were leading at halftime. And Manchester City loved to break those kind of records. Today, for a long time, especially in the first half, it looked as though Manchester United might be able to cause an upset. And I agree with most of the people who would say that Diogo Dalot did not deserve to be on the losing side. Bruno Fernandes also did his part. Marcus Rashford was also chasing balls back behind. Garnacho was doing the best he could. The United backline, including Casemiro and Kobe Mainoo, were fantastic. It's very hard to be in a position to see yourself feeling sorry for Manchester United when you think of all the misery that they had caused my team Arsenal and the rest of the league in their tear when they were winning each and everything left, right, and center in Europe and in the Premier League. But today I saw a team that gave their best, but their best could not match Manchester City. And that is the reality for Manchester United right now, as they try to rebuild under Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the consequent ownership that is going to have more input from the British billionaire. Today they tried in vain to hold Manchester City, and Manchester City sent a very dominant message to everybody who's trying to chase their title. Come and get it from us. What's up, guys? It's your boy Izzy, and if you're new to the channel, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. We are 300 strong, and I want to thank everybody who's been subscribed to the channel, everybody who keeps on giving me strong and encouraging messages. I really appreciate all of your input and your feedback. But now let's talk about Manchester United and their clash against Manchester City at the Etihad, where Manchester United were looking to try and dent Manchester City's title ambitions as they chase down Liverpool and try to hold off Arsenal in what is looking increasingly as a three-horse intriguing race towards the end of this season. The game started off as you would expect with Manchester United trying to hold off Manchester City, but they had a very clear game plan. Going into this, Manchester United were defending in deep banks of 5, and they looked to try and use Rashford and Garnacho in any way to try to be the outlet for any attacking chances. And it came to them in the 8th minute when Rashford was able to lash in a beautiful goal whose aesthetic was matched by the thumping sound that it made when it hit the crossbar as it was going in. Some very good work from Bruno Fernandes as he held the ball after Onana's goal kick, found him free over on the left-hand side. He laid the ball off for Rashford, and the Englishman answered his doubters by doing exactly what he does best. This was a very good response from a guy who's having a very tough season, and his now signature mentality celebration said everything about that moment for Manchester United. In terms of adversity, Manchester United knew that this goal was going to put them in a position where they're going to have to defend with their lives, and defend they did. I said earlier that Diogo Dalot did not deserve to be on the losing side, and neither did Casemiro or Kobe Mainoo, because they played very well. The rest of the first half saw Manchester City attack relentlessly, but it was interspliced with a couple of Manchester United chances. First off, Rashford could have made it 2-0 when he was set free. However, his control let him down, and Kyle Walker, Manchester City's rapid defender, was able to get back and put the ball in the secure hands of Ederson. Now, Manchester United were very good in this first half. They did everything right. If I was to give them a grade, I would say 98%, because the only time that I could have said they did anything other than be fantastic was right at the death when Erling Haaland actually had a chance to put them level and inexplicably kicked the ball over the bar. This looked at this point, for all intents and purposes, as though it was going to be Manchester United's day. Manchester City were dominant. They were very good in that first half. But sometimes in football, we always try to reward the creation of a goal-scoring opportunity, and we don't give credence to the ability of a team to defend. And today we saw a very good side of Manchester United. They defended very well, valiantly. I was really impressed with Kobe Mainoo, Casemiro, and Diogo Dalot in particular. These guys were kicking and booting everything out. And a good word also goes out to Johnny Evans, who, despite his age, was doing a very good job in the center of defense. Manchester United were looking as though they might cause an upset. But in came the second half, and Manchester City do what Manchester City do best. They start tightening. I've spoken a lot about them being equivalent to a boa constrictor. When they get their hands on their prey, they start to squeeze, and they start to squeeze tightly. Manchester United felt as though the walls were starting to close on them. And in the 55th minute, it looked as though they might have earned an opportunity for a free kick. But it was judged as Rashford had gone down way too easy, and I agree with that sentiment. He looked as though he went down far too easy for my liking, and in the resulting attack, Manchester City were able to go ahead. Phil Foden with a wonderful shot that curled and had the same intensity and velocity as Marcus Rashford's shot in the first half flew past Onana, and Manchester City now had Manchester United where they had them. And at 1-1, the impetus was on both sides to try and grab this game. Manchester City were not going to let it go. After watching Liverpool last night go ahead and beat Nottingham Forest in controversial circumstances, but showing the attitude that they have known Liverpool for the last 4 or 5 years in matching everything that they are able to do, they knew that they needed to do something. And in the next 20 or so minutes, Manchester United held on and tried to pick their moments to go forth, but it was impossible. Manchester City have this very, very uncanny ability to just be patient, and they knew that they would eventually find a fissure that they can take advantage of in the Manchester United defense. In the 79th minute, Garnacho was clean through on goal, and it looked as though he was able to cause some problems, but a beautiful tackle from Edison was able to stop him in his tracks. And while there was a short VAR check, there was absolutely no foul by the Manchester City goalkeeper. And from the resulting play, Manchester City were able to finally put paid to Manchester United's hopes of winning this game. A very good interplay from Julian Alvarez and Foden over on the left-hand side again resulted in Foden being free, and he lashed a shot just beyond Onana with beautiful poise. And his celebration after that matched everything that this boy has been for the last couple of weeks. Phil Foden has almost single-handedly kept Manchester City up during this very tough time. And I know I've been very critical of Manchester City's ability to win games in the last few weeks because it seemed as though they have just been sloughing through these games. But today's game showed everything that we know them to be able to do. It was just grit and determination. And unfortunately, Manchester United were now in the position that every team find themselves in at the Etihad, having to chase the game with a very limited amount of time to go. And in the next 10 minutes, it looked as though Manchester City were now on their way to a victory. Manchester United looked downcast. And the only thing that I can say about Ten Hag's input in this game was that, unfortunately, he had some very poor substitutions. And I can't really blame him because when I looked at the bench, Manchester United did not look as though they had anybody that they can put in to rival Manchester City. So it was very, very tough on Manchester United at this point, and it looked as though there was only going to be one winner. And that was confirmed in the 90th minute when Erling Haaland was able to score after a mistake from Amrabat, one of the 3 substitutes, who was robbed of the ball by Rodri. Haaland did the rest. He did exactly what he does. This is his 6th goal against Manchester United, and you know he loves scoring against them. And with that, Manchester City put themselves on the shoulders of Liverpool and put themselves ahead of Arsenal in front of tomorrow's game, and now set the stage for what is going to be a cracker of a game next week when Manchester City go and visit Liverpool. This title race is looking as though it's going to be one of the best we've seen in the Premier League. I haven't put the video out, but I've been working on something where I was thinking that I was going to talk about my favorite title races over the last 31 years of the Premier League. And for me, I still have the 2013-2014 season, even though it ended very poorly for Arsenal, as one of the best title races in the history of the Premier League. You had 3 sides that were pretty much within 5 or 6 points of each other towards the end of the season. And despite Arsenal's fall off towards the end of that season, they managed to finish about 6 or 7 points behind the eventual winners that were Manchester City. This season is shaping up to be one of those seasons. And my input in this is that I think it's going to be a head-to-head matchup between these teams that's going to determine who's going to win the championship, whether it's going to be Arsenal versus Manchester City or next week's clash when Manchester City take on Liverpool. Now, interspliced with that, you will see some of the challengers such as Aston Villa and Tottenham and Manchester United, like they did today, have some input in the final ranking of these teams. But I do think eventually it's going to be the head-to-head meetings and any potential slips that any of these teams have when they face these top 4 contenders or top 6 contenders. That's where I think it's going to lie. And at this moment, Liverpool have been doing a good job of pulling victory from the jaws of draws, and Manchester City have been doing the same thing when it comes to just sloughing off these victories. And Arsenal at the moment are looking as though they are the most impressive of the 3 sides. So eventually, who's going to win it? It's hard to say. I still do have Liverpool as my slight favorites, and that's only because I do think that Manchester City's run-in is looking extremely tough. They face all of the top sides, and it's pretty much back-to-back with each other. And when you look at Arsenal, they do have some tough fixtures, but they are spread out a little bit away from home. Liverpool's problem right now seems as though it's more injury rather than the fixture list. So it's beautiful. It's going to be hard to see who's going to win this title, but we can brace ourselves for a beautiful finish towards the end. As far as Manchester United, they can hold themselves high in this game. They tried their best. For once, I sympathize with them, and trust me, I am not a Manchester United fan in the least bit, but I definitely sympathize with their ability to try and defend today, and they gave their all. We saw Rashford chase after the ball in defense. We saw Kobe Mainoo go into challenges. We saw Casemiro, whose agility and mobility has left him in recent seasons, but even he put in a shift worthy of somebody who was about 25 or 26 years old. It was a very hard loss for Manchester United, but if they are able to play this way, they might be able to get something out of their season. Now, the game lent itself to them because Manchester United knew that Manchester City were going to have majority of the ball, and so it would be easier for them to be a counter-attacking side in this game. But at the end of the day, I think Manchester United did themselves justice by a good defensive performance, although towards the end it kind of fell apart because they didn't have anybody from the bench that could come in and put the same shift as the first 11 had done. They did very well, but Manchester City are just that good. This is just that time when you need to let the tidal wave that is Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, and at this particular moment, Mikel Arteta, subside before Manchester United can have any input in trying to chase for the title. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. How far do you think all of these teams are going to end at the end of the season? I am loving every bit of it, just as much as my nerves are jangling, thinking that my Arsenal are going to play tomorrow and that we face Manchester City on the 31st of March. It's been your boy Izzy. Thank you everybody for subscribing. Thank you for making us 300 strong. But until next time, peace.